Hello, and welcome back to SlowVibe English. Take a deep breath. Let go of the busyness of your day. Today, I have a beautiful, inspiring story for you. It is a story about patience, hard work, and the true price of our dreams. This podcast is not just for your English listening practice. It is also a gentle reminder that some of the best things in life take time to grow. Our story today is called The Value of the Wind. Let us begin.
Chapter 1 The Dreamer by the Sea.
There was once a young woman named Clara. She was 22 years old and lived in a small, windy town by the sea called Windward. In Windward, the winters were long and the ocean breeze was always cold. Clara lived with her parents. Her father was a hard-working fisherman, but the sea was not always kind. Some days he returned with no fish at all. Her mother worked at the local laundry, washing heavy blankets until her hands were rough.
Clara had a big dream. She did not want to leave her beautiful town, but she wanted to change her family's life. Clara loved herbs and flowers. She dreamed of opening a cozy, warm tea house near the pier, a place where locals and travelers could sit by a fire, drink unique herbal tea blends, and eat lavender cookies. But Clara had a major problem. She had no money to buy ingredients, and she did not even own a kettle.
Chapter 2 A Cold Evening and a Father's Advice.
One chilly evening, Clara sat on the wooden pier, watching the gray waves. She whispered to the wind, "How can I build a beautiful dream when my hands are completely empty?" Her father, returning from a long day on the cold water, sat down beside her. He wrapped his warm woolen coat around her shoulders. He listened to her worries and sighed gently.
"Clara," he said, looking at the horizon, "the sea does not give its fish for free. You must sail into the cold wind to find them. Your dream is the same. Do not wait for a perfect sunny day. Start with the small things you have right now, even if it is just a handful of wild herbs." Clara thought deeply about her father's words. She realized she could not wait for a miracle. She had to take action.
Chapter 3 The Skeptical Farmer.
The next day, Clara walked 3 miles to the edge of the town. There lived an elderly farmer named Arthur. Arthur was a quiet, serious man who grew organic lavender, chamomile, and mint. He rarely smiled and trusted very few people. Clara stood before him, her heart beating fast, but her voice was steady.
"Mr. Arthur," she said, "I want to sell warm herbal tea blends on the windy pier. I have no money to buy your herbs up front, but if you trust me with a small bag of chamomile and lavender for 1 week, I will return and pay you double from my profits. If I fail, I will work on your farm for free to pay my debt." Arthur stared at her for a long time. The silence felt like an eternity. Finally, he nodded slowly. "1 week, Clara," he said. "In this life, trust is earned, not given. Do not make me regret this."
Chapter 4 The First Warm Cup.
Clara went home with a small sack of fragrant dried herbs. She borrowed a thermos from her mother and a small folding table from her neighbor. The next afternoon, she set up her tiny table near the harbor. The wind was biting cold. At first, people walked past her quickly, keeping their heads down. Nobody wanted to stop. Clara did not feel discouraged. She poured a cup of hot chamomile tea. The sweet, relaxing aroma drifted through the cold sea air. She smiled warmly at an elderly fisherman walking by and offered him a small, free cup of hot tea and a lavender biscuit she had baked in her mother's kitchen.
The fisherman took a sip. His face softened. He smiled. "Ah, Clara, this warms my very bones," he said. He bought 3 more cups for his friends. By the end of the day, Clara's thermos was empty. By the end of the week, she walked back to Arthur's farm and paid him exactly what she owed, with a little extra to show her gratitude. Arthur did not say much, but he gave her a larger bag of herbs for the next week.
Chapter 5. Navigating the Waves of Learning.
Months passed, and Clara worked tirelessly. She saved every coin she made. Soon, she purchased a beautiful vintage wooden cart so she could move her tea station easily. But Clara wanted to grow. She wanted to blend her own unique recipes, not just sell simple chamomile tea. She asked Arthur to teach her the secrets of drying herbs, blending flavors, and understanding the healing properties of plants. Arthur looked at her and said, "Learning a craft is not easy, Clara. It requires long hours, patience, and a quiet mind. Are you ready?" "I am ready," she replied. The lessons were difficult. Clara made many mistakes. Sometimes her tea blends were too bitter. Other times, she dried the lavender too quickly, and it lost its beautiful scent. There were nights when she sat in her kitchen, crying from frustration, feeling like she would never be a true tea master. But whenever she wanted to give up, she remembered her father's words. The sea does not give its fish for free. Slowly, her hands learned the perfect balance of herbs. Her senses became sharp. After months of practice, she created a signature blend called the Windward Warmth. It was perfect.
Chapter 6. The Modern Storm.
Just when Clara's business was doing well, a new challenge arrived. A large, modern franchise coffee shop called Ocean Brew opened right at the entrance of the pier. It had bright neon signs, loud music, and cheap, colorful iced drinks. Young people and tourists flocked to the new shop. Clara's quiet wooden cart was ignored. Her daily sales dropped significantly. For the first time in a year, she felt a cold fear in her chest. "What if I lose everything I worked so hard for?" she asked herself. But Clara refused to panic. She remembered that she could not control the wind, but she could adjust her sails. She went to her regular customers and asked them gently, "What do you love about my tea? How can I make your experience better?" One regular customer, a school teacher, said, "Clara, your tea is delicious, but we love your cart because it feels like home. It has soul. The big coffee shop is fast, but it is cold." Clara understood. She did not try to compete with the big shop's speed or low prices. Instead, she made her cart even more cozy. She added warm, hand-knit blankets to her small wooden chairs. She placed tiny lanterns on the tables. She started hosting small tea blending workshops on weekend evenings, where people could sit together, talk, and learn to blend their own tea. Slowly, the locals returned. They missed the warmth, the conversation, and the personal touch that only Clara could provide.
Chapter 7. The Flood.
Clara's business flourished. She finally saved enough money to rent a small, beautiful cottage by the harbor. She named it the Coastal Brew. It was a dream come true. But life has a way of testing our resolve. One terrible night, a massive coastal storm hit windward. The ocean rose and a severe flood swept through the harbor. The next morning, Clara walked to her shop. Her heart shattered. The wooden floors were covered in mud. Her expensive brewing equipment was ruined, and her precious jars of dried herbs were soaked in salty water. Clara sat on the wet, muddy steps of her ruined shop and wept. She felt completely defeated. But as she looked around, she saw her neighbors, the fishermen and the local shop owners, also struggling to clean up their own properties. Clara wiped her tears. She stood up, she went home, gathered the dry herbs she had kept in her kitchen, and built a fire in her backyard. She brewed giant pots of the windward warmth tea. She carried the hot tea in large thermoses to the harbor. She did not sell it. She gave it for free to the rescue workers, her neighbors, and anyone who was cold and tired from the cleanup. Her selfless act of kindness brought warmth to a very dark, wet day.
Chapter 8. The Warmth Returns.
2 days later, as Clara was shovel cleaning her shop, she heard footsteps. She looked up and saw Mr. Arthur, her father, and a group of townspeople. They were carrying tools, wood, and fresh bags of organic herbs. The elderly fisherman she had served on her very first day walked forward. "Clara," he said with a warm smile, "you warmed our hearts when the storm was at its worst. Now it is our turn to warm yours. We are going to rebuild your shop together." With the help of her community, Clara's shop was restored in just 1 week. It looked even more beautiful and cozy than before. On the night of her reopening, the shop was packed with people. The warm light of the lanterns reflected on the smiling faces of her friends, family, and neighbors. Clara stood behind her wooden counter, holding a cup of hot tea. She looked at the crowd and felt a deep sense of gratitude. She realized that the storm had not ruined her dream. It had only shown her how strong her roots truly were. Clara's journey teaches us 4 very important lessons. Dreams require sacrifice. A beautiful life is not handed to us. We must take the first step, even if we start with nothing. Value the quiet moments. True growth takes time. Patience is not just waiting. It is the work you do while you wait. Connection is key. In business and in life, a personal touch and genuine kindness are more powerful than any modern marketing. Resilience in the storm. When life floods your dreams, do not give up. Use whatever you have left to help others, and the warmth will always find its way back to you. Thank you for listening to SlowVibe English today. Remember, your dreams are worth the effort. Sleep well, or have a beautiful, peaceful day ahead. Until next time, take care.